Hi everyone, welcome back to another video tutorial in my channel. In this video, I will explain the dark sides of doing a PhD that no one will tell you ever. There may be multiple videos that exist on this topic, but how about listening to it from someone who already has the relevant experience? Let's do it. Before we begin our discussion, please remember that the purpose of this video is not to discourage you from doing PhD, but to give you a glimpse of the pitfalls of a doctoral degree. As you can understand, every coin has two sides. Therefore, having negative sides does not necessarily mean that you will not do PhD. But what it essentially means is that before you dedicate yourself for a full-time PhD, you must be prepared to face all of the difficulties as discussed in the video. Although I do not necessarily want you to agree with me, because ultimately you will have to make the choice for yourself. Listen, many of you want to do PhD because you want to earn one of the highest degrees in the academia. Doing PhD costs you a considerable amount of time. On an average, it takes 4 to 5 years to complete a full-time doctoral degree, sometimes even more. Then there are formalities. Your boss has to approve your thesis and then you submit it. Your thesis is sent to the external reviewers who review it and send the feedback to the university about the quality of the work done, and that decides if the work can be recommended towards receiving a PhD degree or not. Based on the feedback, the university instructs you to defend your thesis before a committee, and upon successful completion of the thesis defense, the university awards you the doctoral degree. Remember that to them, it doesn't matter how long you are working on the project. What really matters is that how far you are far from the completing the project which have been assigned by your principal investigator, popularly known as guide. If you cannot complete it in 5 years of fellowship, you have to work until the project is finished. And there are multiple examples where people's work 6, 7 or even 8 years and sometimes beyond that to reach their goal. Although there is no doubt getting a doctoral degree is intellectually rewarding, unfortunately it doesn't have a direct correlation with the financial reward. I know so many people who work towards their PhD degree without even any compensation or a minimum compensation. Sometimes this happens because your guide doesn't want you to earn while you try to complete the degree. While other friends of yours are actively engaged in earning and saving money for their future, your starving student days may not be behind you. Sad, no? But we have to accept the truth. Pursuing a PhD degree is like an endless journey. Just work, work and work without expecting any appreciation from your boss. On a Friday after 4 p.m., your boss may call you for a meeting to add a specific angle in your project. You do not have a choice. The only choice you have is to execute the part if you wish to get the degree. A PhD degree on an average takes 5 years. Then you have to apply for another fellowship for postdoctoral research. In between, you may have to be prepared to remain jobless or paymentless. People continue in postdoc unless they get a suitable job that they think is good enough both financially and socially. Now this is very important for those who want a job in which to work from 9 o'clock to 5 p.m. in the evening. You are not at all good for PhD if you think so. Working towards a PhD degree is sometimes a 24-hour job, especially in the field of experimental science. You'll have to work day and night, not only just because your boss advised you to do so, but also because you have to complete the work in a stipulated period of time. Otherwise, you may not be able to publish a paper. Your registration for PhD may get cancelled by your university, your fellowship may get over, your credentials for job prospect will go down. As a consequence, there may not be anyone to marry you at the end. Although this is what sounds funny to you, but this is the reality. One of the foremost important things in someone's career is to get a decent job after completing a particular degree. In this regard, PhD will rank at the bottom because doing PhD is one of the highest degrees in academia. One will expect to get a job immediately after completing the doctoral degree. But that's not the case, unfortunately. Scope of someone who did PhD has been narrowed gradually. Needless to say, there is a cutthroat competition among the potential candidates. Grossly, either you are successful to secure a job to teach in a college or university, or you become a full-time researcher as a scientist in a research institute. There are also biotechnology companies that absorb a sizable number of PhD candidates. Just imagine what happened to those who do not fall in either of these categories. In my opinion, experiences in PhD or post-PhD degrees are not as honored as they are in the case of other professional degrees like MBBS, LLB, or even technology. Sometimes experiences in your CV are counted as discredit. The potential employers may ask you, why could you not secure a job earlier? You may also have to explain if there is any gap in your career. I know many of my friends who joined laboratory after an experience of 5 years with less payment than their last salary drawn. In the field of PhD, the logic seems to be quite reverse. More aged you are, less work you can do, at least your potential employers think so, though more payment you expect. Why an employer will hire you paying more amount of money when you can work less? These days, universities in abroad, they also made a rule that one cannot remain as a postdoctoral fellow post 5 years of his or her PhD. Once you complete your 5 years milestone after PhD, your boss will have to pay more money to keep you in the lab because you are promoted in a better position. The scenario encourages many PI to hire a fresh candidate instead of an experienced one. Don't you agree? Experience serves as a discredit in this case. As in other professions, there are dissatisfactions in the field of PhD. But contrary to other professions, dissatisfaction comes because of other reasons. The joy of doing something is not directly proportional to the amount of work done and the efforts invested towards completing your doctoral degree. Sometimes your experiment may fail that you need to justify to your boss. Sometimes your reagents are not just ready to perform an experiment. Sometimes everything is perfect though, but not the mood of your boss, to name a few. Overall, seldom you will find someone who is happy with his or her progress in PhD. For a PhD and postdocs, there is no distinction between weekdays and weekends. While your other friends are planning for an excellent vacation in the coming long weekend or national holiday, you are busy in placing the order for chemicals or reagents that you will need to perform the experiments to fulfill the deadline given to you by your boss. It's a common belief that PhD candidates don't have a well-adjusted or well-balanced social life. As a consequence, your family members, friends may keep distance from you. You must be ready to skip the birthday party of your dear friends who invite you on a specific date well in advance. All this makes you an unsocial element in the society. There is a big disparity between the supply of PhD or postdoc candidates and their demand in the job market worldwide. PhD students and the postdocs are sometimes considered as the ugly underbelly of academia. You keep doing postdocs years after years, and then you think about changing the lab in order to continue earning your bread and butter. And one day suddenly you realize that that's enough. Now you need to secure a permanent job. When you land up in the job market, you see that there is an already super crowded stadium where there is a game going on and spectators are patiently waiting for the turn to come. You are just one more addition in the gallery of the spectators in that stadium. This is true that the PhD and the postdoc are the source of cheap labor almost everywhere in the world. For example, in Canada, before tax and average earning of a postdoc is around $40,000 a year, which is average salary of a construction worker. In India, although there is a hike in the salary in the past decade, but the fellowship suffers from several drawbacks. Irregularity of salary deposition being one of the major factors for discouragement, apart from an unsecured future. What about the workload? Doing research adds up tremendous amount of pressure in someone's life. Many of us can handle this pressure appropriately, but others cannot. Before you embark for PhD, remain ready to handle a lot of pressure, workload, and continuous series of deadlines. What about the expectations versus reality in PhD? Those who are engaged in research as PhD or postdoc, they are really far from the people's expectations. These expectations are of multidimensionals. Your family will expect, for example, you will earn a lot of money and provide support to them as and when necessary. If you are married, your wife will expect you will give her time. If you have kids, they will expect you that they would spend quality times with you, and your friends would expect you would engage them as per their expectations. And contrary to everything, finally, your boss would expect you to be in the lab 24 hours a day, 7 days in a week, 365 days in a year, and become super productive. Unless you get a chance to become an independent principal investigator, doing research under someone's supervision is not an easy task at all. You may have to spend the evening and occasionally the night in the laboratory in order to complete the assignment, forgetting about the social life. Now imagine one long day in the laboratory and the same day is the birthday of your parents, kid, wife, or even a bosom friends. The irony is that research is not considered to be a profession. It is suggested to be a passion of someone, even if it is not. I have seen most of the universities and the PIs, they treat the PhD and postdocs as students, not as staff. If you are compelled to continue this forced passion, you may end up being aged. After a certain age, when you actually need to look after your old aged parents, support them and your wife, your kids, raise them properly, sadly, you discover yourself writing applications seeking suitable job. Occasionally, instead of you support your parents financially, your parents do the job for you. It is not really uncommon to grow up extreme disputes between you and your PI. The disputes may come in several ways. If the disputes are very large, you may be asked to leave the lab in a short notice. There are occasions where a fellow has been asked to leave the lab after 5 years of his or her work without completing the project. And there are harassments by both your guides as well as the fellow lab mates. Finally, I strongly dislike the rotten system of recommendation that exists in the field of research. Whenever you would like to switch the lab, your potential employer will seek recommendation later from your present and or previous employer. It is up to them what they would like to write about you. So now this is $1 billion open question to every one of you who is watching this video. In spite of having all the difficulties, should you still not do a PhD? Viewers, please let me know what is your opinion in this regard. Drop a line in the comment box on what you think. If you think this video is useful, please like it and share the video with your friends. And do not forget to subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon in order to get the update on the videos. You may also write to me, let me know what kind of videos you want in my channel. Take care. Bye bye.